All right, welcome back. So in the last videos, we worked on the login and the sign up workflows. In this video, we're going to cover the shopping workflow. So let me show you what we're going to do in this next video. So the last one, we worked on the sign up, the login, and at this point, we left off right here, which is the loading screen. And this next series of videos, or this video that we're on right now, we're going to build out this workflow of having the ability to select a boba tea drink and add it to your cart. So let me show you that right now. We'll also build out this tab bar at the bottom that stays fixed, meaning it doesn't move as I swipe down. And you can see if I click and drag up, Figma automatically transitions this as if I was swiping on a mobile device. Okay, and at that point, the next screen after we build this one out is the selection screen. So you can see we have a transition state where this slides up. If I tap on the X, it slides down as a transition, so we'll learn that as well. And we'll also learn how to create a mobile drop-down. So if I tap on this regular suite here, you can see I have a slide up overlay. And if I tap at the top, it slides down. And if I tap a selection, semi-suite, you can see it updates the selection where it said regular suite to semi-suite. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll create the active state for the topping selections. So if I click on the large or tap on the large topping, tapioca, you can see there, and I press add, and that will add to the cart there. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get going. So let's go back over to our learning page here that we were on. You can see this one here. And remember where we left off, we stitched the login and the go button here to this load screen. I'm going to copy the load screen here. And so what I did again was I clicked hold option, clicked and dragged. Once I got the double arrows as my mouse, that copied that artboard, and I held shift so that keeps alignment. So when I don't have shift, it goes out of alignment. When I hold shift, it keeps it aligned to the next artboard. I'm going to click and drag outside of the artboard. You can see how I'm doing that here. And that's just going to select things within the artboard. And I'm going to delete the boba and the loading. I'm also going to select the status bar here. I'm going to Command C or copy here, and then I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to grab this artboard. I zoomed out a little bit here. Actually, before I zoom out, I'm going to create a guide to show me the bottom of my screen. So if you're not seeing your rulers here, you can go to View or your pixels, and you could see where it says Show Rulers. This will give you no rulers right now, and if I go View, Show Rulers again, I'll see the rulers. You want the rulers out because you'll want to be able to drag guides. So if I'm in an artboard and I drag a guide, it stays in that artboard. You can see now it's only in the artboard. If I'm not in the artboard and I'm over in just the design area, I can drag a guide and it stays outside of the artboard, so it stays anywhere, so I can always see it. I can click it, drag it. If I want to remove it, I can just slide it back up into the ruler and it deletes it. So at this point I want to grab the guide, and then I want to select my artboard here, and I want to make it really long. Don't worry too much about how long it is, just make it pretty long here. Like I have mine at 2000. Let's just make it even longer, like 2400 pixels. Okay, so that looks good. And then I'm going to paste the status bar back in. Oh, I'm going to copy it from over here, paste it from over there. Make sure that this status bar has the fixed position when scrolling here. So we set that up in the last video, but that's really important now that we're going to be able to scroll down and see content here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to create that tab bar. So I have the tab bar here over on the design goods. Go ahead and grab it. Just copy it. And you can paste it outside the artboard for now because we'll create this. We just want to grab those icons. So you can see I have this status, this navigation bar at the bottom, or tab bar at the bottom, is set at 375 wide, and we can make it 885 height. So let's go grab a square, a rectangle here. And let's just make a rectangle on this artboard. Doesn't matter the size yet, just make it the same width as the artboard. So we got 375, and then let's come to the height attribute here at the top right, and let's make that 85. Okay, cool. So now you can see it here. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and move that down a little bit. So now it's flush to the bottom of this artboard. So what we want to do now is when we click on it, on the design tab, see where it says fixed position when scrolling? Let's go ahead and tap that. And I'm going to show you what that looks like once we get some content in, and how this will stay fixed on the bottom as you scroll down. So the next thing we want to do is let's give this a colored background. So let's go ahead and do, we can do a little bit of an off black. So let's go get the blue color palettes, and let's get enough where I can kind of see it on black. That looks good. We could do 012436 as a color, or you can just use your best judgment if you want to. All right, so now you have the tab bar. Let's go put these icons in play. So I'm going to grab all three, and I'm going to put them at the bottom. You can see that they are underneath the rectangle. That's because whatever's fixed position in Figma will arrange itself on the top. You can see the layering system here. It has labels on this artboard. It says fixed at the top. Anything that's fixed will automatically go to the top of the layering arrangement. Anything that's not fixed will go underneath this scroll title here, and this is the rest of the content. So what we want to do is we want to fix position these icons, and you'll see them jump from the left layering system here up into the fixed layering positions here. So we're going to tap the click on the fixed position when scrolling, and you'll see they moved up from the scroll area to the fixed area. And let's go ahead and make them even further. We can click and drag them in between or on top of the rectangle. So now they're laying on top of it. Let's go ahead and visually make them centered here. That looks good. I'm just using my arrow keys on my keyboard. And now what we want to do is we want to create an active state. So let's go ahead and select the profile icon here and the shopping cart icon, and let's push those back in transparency. So let's do about 30% here. That looks good. They're still visible, but it gives the user an indication of where they're at in this tab bar system. So you can see here we're creating this screen here where this is going to stay fixed, and the status bar at the top will stay fixed, and you'll scroll down and see all this content. All right, cool. So let's zoom out a little bit. You can delete the rectangle we had here now that we have this tab bar system in play. And let's go grab the first boba tea drink here. So this is the regular boba tea. Just Command C, copy it. It already has the same the width and height for you. Just go ahead and paste it in, and you'll see since it's not fixed, it automatically was underneath the status bar, which is good. That's kind of what we want. Let's grab this boba tea logo here, Command C, and let's just paste it here. So now we want to change the text of this boba tea logo to a black text where it says boba. All you have to do here is just triple click into it, and then hold shift and select the other letters. Now I have the word boba, just boba selected. Where it says fill, just go ahead and change the color. Let's make it black. We can also use our color styles that we made, because we made a black here, and select black as well. All right, that's looking good. So the next thing we wanted to add is the text here. We had regular and sweet tint of caramel and chocolate, and we had the price for it as well. All right, so I'm going to grab the text tool here. I'm going to type in the word regular. And again, you can see how my text is defaulting to align on the bottom here on the character. Text dialog box is this piece here. That happens sometimes. I like to have it aligned in the middle and not on the bottom. So that's good there. Let's go ahead and make this let's do about a 16 point font. And let's grab some letter spacing here. It's too tight right now. You can see without letter spacing, it's kind of hard to read. And you'll see what I mean when you actually give it some letter spacing. Right now it's at -2%. It's right underneath the box in which you can change the width and height of your font. And let's bump it up. Let's give it 8%. And you can just see how just a little bit of spacing makes it just a little bit easier to read. Again, on the paragraph alignment, we have it set at centered. Let's make it a right aligned. So if I click on the right one on the text box here, you can see I have it right aligned. And that's looking good. Okay, so like we did before in the last video, let's create a character style for this. So now we have a 16 point font. So let's go ahead and create a new 16 point. I'm going to type it 16 point, and it's a regular, I believe, yep, regular font. So we can reuse that as we go through this. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to type up the sweet tint of caramel and chocolate. So from here, I'm going to just copy this same layer, this text box here. Again, I pressed Option, Shift. Shift keeps that alignment to the right, which is really good. I don't want it off like this. I want to keep it directly aligned. And let's go type this. And so at this point, I actually want it to be not centered in the box, but to the top. So I'm going to do the alignment from the text property here, align to top. There you go. That looks good. Okay, so we have sweet tint of caramel and chocolate. Cool. All right, so at this point, let's make this text bigger. So let's detach it from the character text style that we have here. So a 16. Let's make this probably too big there. Let's make it a 22. That should be fine. I'm going to stretch this out because I want 3 lines. Yeah, that looks good there. And let's go make this a regular. And that looks fine. Cool. So now that we have this at 22, we have the title text here at 16 and the description text at 22. Let's make a text style for this as well so we can reuse this now. So now we're getting a combination of nice text styles that we can use. We have the 16 point, We had the 19 points that we set up from the login pages. And now we'll have the larger one, which will be a 22. So let's grab this and make it a 22 point. I'm just typing in 22 point. And you'll see why I do this when we get to the next series of boba tea flavors, because we're going to type in the flavors in the descriptions, and then we can easily set them exactly like this. All right, so that looks good. One thing we had too was the price tag. So I'm going to copy the same regular type. Or actually, I'll show you why we use some of the character styles and why it's really helpful here is I'm just going to type it. Just going to type for, I think it was $4.99. And let's say I don't have it aligned here to this text, but I do have it right aligned on the paragraph setting. If I want to create alignment between all three of these elements, just select all three, and you can see at the top here I have these alignment icons. So here's left alignment. This was centered alignment, but I want right alignment here. So I'm going to click on the right, and you can see it aligned all three of these onto the right now. And the $4.99, I want to make it not the 22, but let's see what it looks like in the 19 bold. That looks good. I'll keep it the 19 bold. And the last thing we want to do is I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to create the ad just to indicate to the user that they can add this to their cart. And let's give it the action color here. And voila, that looks pretty good. All right, cool. So what we're going to do next, let's go ahead and stitch this up so we can see what this looks like on the prototype. So if you remember, we had the login screen prototyped, login button on the login screen was connecting to the loading screen, and the go button on the keyboard would take you to the load screen. And like we learned in the last video, the load screen needs to have a delay. So you can't click on any items within the artboard to create an artboard delay. You have to select the artboard in itself. So I have the loading screen selected. I'm going to click and drag the GUI prototype arm, and you can see now it's connected to the shopping screen. I'm going to change this naming of the shopping or the loading screen here to shopping screen because we copied that. And again, all I did was select the screen here, got the layer on the left, and just triple clicked on the layer, and I could type in shopping. Okay, cool. So we just want this to this interaction here to go away after a certain time duration. So on the prototype here, when I select the prototype link, I have on tap. Let's go ahead and do after delay, and 3 seconds is about right, or 3000 milliseconds here. An instant should be fine. We don't want any smart animation or anything. All right, and then go ahead and press the play button at the top. And now you can see the prototype here. We have the loading screen. We can just go through the login. And you can see when I tap the login button, the loading screen shows up for 3 seconds. And then, yeah, we have the shopping screen with our first flavor of boba tea here. You can see if I click and drag up, see how the things that are fixed, the tab bar here and the status bar here at the top, the settings elements, those are all fixed. That's what it means to have a fixed element, is that those things are not going to scroll while all the other content scrolls. All right, so let's go add the rest of the flavors of boba tea that we had here. So you can see here I had the next flavor here. And just go ahead and paste that right in place, just like so. And we want a little bit of about a 1 pixel spacing in between. So that looks in between the two photos, just like that. Okay, and then what we want to do here is probably best just to copy this text here. And you can keep it aligned. So I'm going to hold Option. I'm going to click and drag down. And again, I'm going to hold Shift so I'm not doing this. So you can see as I move my mouse. If I hold Shift, I can't move my mouse around. It's keeping all of this information here aligned. And just space it kind of midway through to your image here. And I'm also going to go to Object and bring to front here, as you can see. Okay, and on that flavor, what we had here was we have a coffee flavored with premium cold brew with black tea, and it's $4.99. So let's go back into our learning tab here, and let's change that here. And let's see here what it said. Premium cold brew with black tea. I'm going to type that in. All right, remove the spacing there, and I want to drop the width to the third line and add the spacing there. Cool, we're getting through it pretty quick. That's good. Okay, so you can see that these two elements fit everything from the tab bar up. Let's go grab the next flavored here, which is the matcha tea flavor. And I just Command C copied it and Command V paste it. And I'm going to go ahead and get it in the right position here. There you go. And I'm going to copy the same text here. I'm going to Option, click and drag, hold Shift. So again, holding Option until I get the double arrow, select all these elements. And if I want to, I can group these to make it easy for my next selection. So if I just do a group selection here and I hold Option and click and drag, now I have them copied. And again, I want to bring them to front. I right click on them, bring to front. You can also use Command Option up and down arrows for the quick keys to bring these up on the layers. All right, and let's go ahead and call this one matcha. And the text on it was premium cold brew. Oh, that was the coffee flavored. So let's go ahead and just change this text to have a matcha tea description. So let's call it premium matcha. And black tea. That should work. Okay, cool. So the next thing we want to add is the final flavor, which you can see here on the final prototype here. Oh, here was the text here. Sweet Japanese matcha tea. Let's go back and add that real quick. So it was sweet Japanese matcha tea, which is my favorite drink, by the way, out of all of those. All right, and the last one is the chai tea as well. So let's go grab the chai photo here, which is the one with a little bit more. It's the same as the regular tea, it just has a little bit more of a color to it. Go ahead and select. You can see that when I paste, if I don't have my artboard selected, I just like paste this. It's not going to paste in the artboard. You can see I can move the artboard and it doesn't go with it. So always remember to select the artboard and then paste when you're in the artboard. I'm going to move this down. I'm holding shift when I move so I don't move the proportions. It already pasted right in the exact width that I wanted it, full width. And I moved it down like so. Okay, at this point, let's go ahead and copy. I'm going to move this up a little bit. Cool. Let's copy this text here. And again, I'm going to right click and go to bring to front, or Command Option up and down. I can go up for bring to front and down to bring to back. So you can see that. And this is the chai tea. So the description for that is made with golden chai tea. So let's go back to our learning page. And I'm going to type that in. Made with golden chai tea. And I believe that was also, that's $5.99. All right, you're getting a little bit more expensive now. It's good. Okay, cool. So now we have those 4 flavors in. Let's go ahead and go back to our prototype. So again, you can click on the play button, or you can just do the tab. If you just tab over here, you can also press the tab bar there at the top. And now you can see what it looks like to scroll. So you can scroll through these flavors. You can see the line between the coffee and the matcha isn't there. So let's go back and add that. But that's looking pretty good. So let's go back. I'm going to reselect. So one thing I do is go ahead and select outside of the artboard. Start your mouse arrow to the right and click and drag over just the elements that you want to select in the artboard itself. So we just have those flavors, just the chai and the matcha now selected. And now I'm going to arrow down 2. And you can see I created that little line there for the matcha tea. Okay, so again, many ways to get to my prototype. I can press present, or I can click on the tab at the top. Let's go tab back to the top there. And there's all my flavors. Okay, cool. So now that we have the artboard here, you can see we made it pretty long. Let's go back and shorten that up now that we have all the content in play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another guide to not just the bottom of my content, but a little bit further. You usually want to give some space for the tab bar so that all the chai tea information goes above the tab bar. So you can see about there is fine. Just to double check, I'm going to copy this nav bar and just see, yep, we could probably move this guide up a little bit here. We just want it where that chai tea will sit at the very low end of the tab, or the swiping will sit on top of that tab bar, and that tab bar won't hide content that we have here. Okay, so this is kind of a Figma thing that happens here. It's a little bit of a bug. So if I want to stretch this artboard with content that's fixed within it, you can see what happens. See how the content that's fixed starts to squish. So look what happened to the boba and the status bar. It's a thing that happens with Figma. I haven't quite figured that out. So what we tend to do is just click and drag and select all the elements that you have in that artboard. Do a Command C, just copy it, then delete it for now. Then grab the artboard and shorten it to that guide that we made here. And then Command V will paste back in place. There you go. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, so at this point, let's go back to our prototype and we can check how that looks. So you can see here we have the regular, of the coffee, the matcha. And if we didn't add that extra space at the bottom, the chai would end up at the bottom swipe looking like this. Or even worst case, it would hide that add button. But since we added that additional space, you can see where it just goes right to the top of that navigation bar. So it looks good. And you can see I can swipe up, and Figma gives you that transition of swiping. So it acts as if I was swiping with my finger. And if you download the Figma mirror application on your phone, you can see why that makes it feel just like a real application on your mobile device. All right, well, that's looking good. So the next thing we want to do here is if I tap anywhere, not just the add button, but anywhere on the milk tea space here, it's going to open up the selection modal for the regular milk tea. So that's this screen here. Looks like this. So let's go ahead and build out this screen here. And we're going to work on the drop down as well to the right here. So if we go back to the learning page, this is going to be a regular screen size height. So let's copy the loading screen that we had here. So again, I held Option, grabbed that artboard, hold Shift, and drag it over to the right. Then I'm going to click and drag from the right to select the elements within the artboard. And now I'm going to delete that. And I press delete. Okay, I want to reuse this photo. So let's go ahead and press Command C. And I'm going to Command V this photo here at the top. And then you can see here where if I move the bottom up, like say I want to squish it up like that, it makes the perspective of the photo, it doesn't hold the aspect ratio, and it interpolates the photo like that. And it really doesn't look good for photos. So what we want to do is you want to go to the image here, click on it, and you can see where it says crop image. Let's go ahead and do one that says fit image here. Actually, let's go to fill. There you go. So again, we moved from crop to fill. And how I got here was you just click on the image, fill here, come over to where it was cropped, and I put fill. And now you can see when I move it up, it doesn't defy the perspective of that image. Now I want to move the actual image inside of this up. So if I click on the image again and I double click, so there's one click, but if I double click, I get to the crop here at the top. So press the crop and you can see now I can grab the image within that I've cropped and I can move it up a little bit. And about there should be fine. Maybe give this a little bit more space. So again, it's preset me back to crop, so I can go back now to fill and go back to crop again, and then just move this up. A couple ways you can do that. Okay, at this point, let's go ahead and have some more fun. We're going to make the prototype section for this first, but I need to make a close button on the top left. So when you tap on this, you can close the screen as well and go back to the flavored screen or the shopping screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a rectangle. Here you can see I have a rectangle. I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to hold Shift. Oh, nope, no holding Shift. Just click and drag. And I'm going to round out the edges. So over here I have the corner radius. Just press 100. It's fine. And see how it rounded out that selection. Since this is an actionable element, we want this to be the actionable color. So let's go grab our primary action color, that pink. And I'm going to copy this, Command C. I'm going to click off of it. I'm going to click back on the artboard, and I'm going to Command V, which is a paste in place. And I'm going to select the one I just pasted, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So now I have a plus button. So now I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to group the selection, or you can also Command G. So I'll give you a second to do that. And now that I have that grouped, or that plus button available, I'm going to rotate the plus button, and now I have the X that I want. And like anything that we use that's going to be, that we create, that's going to be reused, let's go make this a component. So I'm going to downsize it just a little bit. That looks good. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to our component library here. And now I'm going to paste that here. Move this over a little bit. And I'm going to create the component. So I pasted it here. The little top diamond icon. Create component. And I'm going to name this close. And just put an X. Close X like that. Awesome. Now let's go back to our learning page here. And let's go back to the layer asset, the layer tab here at the top. Let's go to the asset tab. And let's grab the X component that we just created. And let's put that in place of this X now. So that way when we reuse this, we can change it pretty easily from the same area, from the master component. And it changes on all the artboards. Okay, so let's have the fun part. Let's go ahead and prototype this transition here in our prototype. So let's click on the shopping page here. Let's go to the prototype tab here and just select just the image of the regular boba tea. Let's go ahead and connect it to the screen to the right. Let's actually label this screen here. This says loading screen because we copied it. Let's call this one the selection screen. All right, so now we have the selection screen. So again, we had the shopping screen here. We selected the regular boba tea. We clicked the little GUI prototype connector onto the selection screen. And now we have the interaction on tap, which is good. And it went to move in. Sometimes yours may just say instant like this. What we want to do is we want to create a move in scenario. So I'll show you what it looks like with just instant for right now. And we can do the X here, back, the X in the selection screen, back to the shopping screen, and we can just do instant. Okay, so if I tap anywhere where the photo was, you can see it just instantly transitions to that selection screen. And if I tap on the X, then it instantly transitions to the shopping screen. We don't want that. We want a transition. We want this screen to slide up and then the X to slide back down. So what we need to do is select the prototype GUI line that we just made. That was from the boba tea here. And where it says instant, we want this to have a move in. So what it's saying is this screen here, this new screen, is going to move in. And then you define how it's going to move in. So here we have the slide left. You can see an example of that. It's going to come in from the right, slide left. We have the slide right. It's going to come in from the right. We have the slide down, where it's going to come in from the top down. And we have the one that we want to do, which is the slide up. So this screen, this selection screen here, is going to slide up on top of your shopping screen. So now we have that. So make sure you have this selected on move in and the specifications for how it's going to move in set on up. Let's go look at the prototype now. So if I tap anywhere where the regular milk tea is at, you can see how this slides up. And I think X is still on instant. So now we want this screen to also slide back down by pressing the X. So a lot of times when you do this, I've seen is sometimes you'll have move in selected, and then you'll have this specification set on move down, and it makes it look like the thing that you want. But let me show you what happens here. So see how it brought the other screen on that transition with it. So let me do that again. You click on the regular boba tea here, it slides up. That's what we wanted. That's a good transition. But when I press the X, you can see the screen comes from the top, the screen underneath it, the shopping screen, and it slides down again. We don't want that. We want this to look like it just slides up and then slides down again. So that's caused because we have the selection here on the animation defined as move in, when we actually want it to be a move out. It's like get out of the way. So again, we have the regular milk tea selection coming in, and it's telling the prototype to move this screen up and move in. And then we have the X button being informed to move out and go down to expose this screen, the shopping screen here. So let's go ahead and look at that. So I tap on the regular milk tea selection photo, slide up, and then now that we have the slide, the move out, you'll see it move out, and it just moves down. It doesn't bring the other screen with it. So move in, that's up, and move out, going down. Cool. That's a really common mobile pattern, an interaction pattern, is things sliding up with an X and then sliding down with the X as well. When it's coming in from the left to the right, that's usually a back button. And we'll have opportunities in the shopping cart experience to prototype what that looks like with the back button. All right, cool. So at this point, we want to add some labels that you're on the regular milk tea. So I'm going to copy this regular text here. I'm going to paste it here. And I think we said this was 16 point. Let's go make this a 22 point. And I like the regular there. That looks good. I'm going to copy that and just call it regular milk tea. And I'm going to make this one, I'm going to detach this and just make it bold. Yeah, that looks good. We can kind of center this here. If you want to have some real fun with it, let's just bump up the milk tea up a whole bunch. So you can see I've made it now 32. And I have the regular. That looks good. That's getting there. One thing I need to add here is you can see the word milk tea. It has a lot of leading, meaning paragraph spacing. So the space in between the word milk and the word tea, this space here, that's called leading or line height or paragraph spacing. The reason that is called leading was back in the day when they were doing typesetting. They used to have to do it out of metal, and they would have a typesetting machine where they would cut out individual letters, and then they would arrange those letters to make words, and they would actually put pieces of lead in between each word here to make the leading. That's why it was called leading, because you had different point sizes of metal. So in the world of CSS languages, that's called line height here. So let's go ahead and make that a smaller line height. I'm going to just say 50 as a starter point. And then now let's go down. So yeah, 38 is perfect. So now I have this set at 42 of the font size and 38 for the line height and 8% for the character spacing. All right, that looks good. We've created a little bit of some hierarchy here with the regular font and the milk tea. Since we've created a 42 bold, I'm not sure if we'll actually use the font this big going forward, but just in case, let's go ahead and do it. Let's make a 42 point character style or text style. So now we have a pretty good range. We have 40, 42, I need to rename this. I typed it 43, it's 42. Okay. So we have 42, 22, 19, and 16. It's pretty good so far. We have a good range of character styles that we can, and text styles we can pull from. All right, the next thing that we'll need to do is we're going to create these little drop down pieces here for milk and regular sweet and medium ice. So let's go into this prototype here, or this screen, selection screen. Let's grab a rectangle and just make a rectangle. Doesn't matter what size it is. I got mine set at, let's do 320 width and 65 height should be fine. Cool. And it has a fill right now. We don't want to have a fill. We want to have a stroke. So let's remove the fill. So if I click on the minus button here on the right, you can see minus, no more fill. And I want to add a stroke. So I'm going to press the plus button on the stroke. And now I have a stroke, but it's black. But I want to make it white. And give it 2 points. Again, since I've selected white already and I have it set as a character style or color style, let's grab it from the color style here. So let's do white here. And I'm going to ghost it back a little bit. Let's do like 50%. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so let's see. We had a 19 point, we have the 22 point font. 22 should be fine for now. Let's go grab this regular font. Let's make this white. And again, it's on that right alignment, so if I stretch this box, it aligns to the right. We want that to be left aligned here. And I'm going to just call this milk. And I'm going to center this box visually. That looks good. Okay, and we want to make a little triangle here to represent the drop down. So how to do that is go ahead and grab the polygon. I like mine to be a little bit more wide. So you can hold shift, it gives you a straight triangle. I like to be a little bit more wide. Like mine's about 20 by 10 or 20 by 11. So 20 width, 11 height. That looks good. Let's go grab that primary action color pink that we made here. And then we just want to flip this so it's pointing down. All right. Cool, so that's our milk drop down. And like anything, I'm gonna downsize this a little bit, but we're gonna copy this. So remember the rules earlier about anything that you copy. Let's go make this a component. So I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna go over to the component library here. I'm gonna paste it here. I'm gonna press the little diamond button at the top here. I'm gonna create a component and call this the drop down button. Cool, so that's the drop down button. And I'm going to change it from milk to just text. So give it a more general description. It's best practices. And once that's done, we're gonna go back over to our learning page here. So let's go over the learning page. And then see the layers tab that we're on here. Let's go to the asset tab. And you can see I have the drop down button here. Click and drag it. And you can see it's purple. selection rather than blue, indicating that it's a component. And I'm going to put that right over the top. I'm going to Command C, copy, and delete. And then I'm going to select the milk, the drop down icon, and the rectangle, and just delete them. And then I'm going to select the artboard screen here. I'm going to Command V, paste in place. And now I have that drop down component. And let's make it an instance by changing the name. And now we have the milk here. Okay, cool. So here's a little trick. If you hold Option and you click and drag and again hold Shift. And let's just get this right where they're lined up, just like that. So they're sort of right on the top and bottom of each other. Once that looks good, we're going to go ahead and Command D. Yep. Try that again. So drag that over and then Command D. And Command D will repeat the copy action that you've already done. So you can see I can just like Command D a whole bunch of times. All right, so at this point we should have 3 of them here. But you can see there's a problem because we're overlapping these. And since they're transparent, the rectangles, they don't look right because they're giving a stronger color on the overlap when they should just be hiding each other. So you can see here this, if I move this up, you get a thicker line here in between them, but we kind of want to just hide the lines here. You can see kind of like that. But when they're overlapping like that, they create a stronger overlapping line because the text box here is set in a transparency. So again, the beauty of why we created this as a component is let's go back to our layer system here. Let's go back to the component library. Let's select this text box or the drop down button. Select the rectangle behind it. You can see the white stroke here. Let's go select, we made a cool gray in the beginning. Let's go make this just a cool gray. And let's make sure it's 100%. All right, now let's go back to our learning page. There you go. And now they're exactly the same color. There's no overlap that we had before due to the transparency. All right, so at this point we had regular sweet here. So let's go type in regular sweet. And we had medium ice. Let's type in medium ice. All right, so now that we have our drop downs going here, let's go look at what we want to add. Oh, we had a little with medium ice there. Let's go back to our learning page and add that with medium ice. Cool. So at this point, we want to add just the text here for tap to select toppings, and it has 2 colors within it. So it has the cool gray that we were using and the white. So let's go back into our learning page here. I'm going to grab the text box. Again, just press T for the quick key. Click and drag the same width of the drop downs and type tap. I'm going to select tap first and make it white so we can see it. Tap to select toppings. and we had $0.50 per topping, and that was in another color. And this font is also big, so let's take this font down a bunch. So let's break it from the character style it's in right now, which is 22 points. Let's break that. Let's go see what we have here. We're probably going to need a 14-point font here. So let's make this 14. Yep, that looks good. Let's center on the paragraph alignment. So right now it's left aligned, meaning if I drag this box, it stays to the left. Let's center it. Keep it white, but just select this section here, which is the 0 to 50 per topping. And let's go ahead and change that color into where it says fills. Click on the 4 dots here, and let's change that into the cool gray that we have. All right, cool. We may use this 14-point text again, so I'm going to select the white text here. I'm going to go to the text, and we'll create another text style. This will probably be one of the last ones we create. And let's call this 14-point. And now we have a pretty good system from 16-point, 19-point, 22-point, 42-point, and 14-point. So those are pretty good. We shouldn't need that much more going forward. Cool. The next thing is to create these little circle buttons that we have here that represent the toppings. So let's go back over to our learning page here. And now all we have to do is click on with the shape drop down here. And let's go grab a circle, which is also a quick key, which is 0. And the quick key for the rectangle is R. So remember, the circle is a 0. It looks like a circle on your keyboard, and the R for rectangle, meaning R. So let's grab the circle there. I'm going to hold shift just to make a straight circle. If I don't hold shift, you see I can make an oval, but I'm going to hold shift because I want straight circles. And let's make them about 80 by 80. All right. And iOS guidelines say about the smallest you can get, like a button or anything, is about 40 pixels by 40 pixels. You can probably even go a little bit smaller, but if you're looking for like best practices, the smallest tappable element on an iPhone application is about 40 pixels by 40 pixels. We're doing pretty good here by doing 80 by 80. So at this point, what we can do is you can, again, just copy and paste. You can paste anywhere. It will naturally paste in place. And then just go ahead and copy another one and paste in place here. It doesn't matter if they're off or not aligned, because what we're going to do here is we're going to select all 3 of these. And we're going to do the top aligned here. So make sure that they're aligned to the top. And then we're going to select the little drop down here, which gives us the distribution. And let's do an even horizontal spacing here. So that looks good there. Let's center these. I'm going to make a little bit more width on these. So if you just make these 2 a little bit longer, or move them to the right a little bit from the one on the left, and then do the distribute space horizontally again, it will create a little bit more space in between them. Okay, now that I have all 3 of them selected, I don't want to fill yet. I'm just going to minus the fill here, and I'm going to add a stroke. And then I'm going to select that primary action color for the stroke and set it at a 2 pixel stroke. So here you can get heavy with strokes if you want, but 2 is all we need right now. I'm going to set this as the outside too. You can have inside, center, or outside strokes. Okay, I'm glad we reused the 14-point, or we created a character style for that, because that's the same size typography we're going to use for the toppings. So the first one, I'm going to make this was a white text color, and that was a large tapioca. At 14 point. And let's go ahead and center that in the button. Yeah, I just want to make sure this is nicely centered in that button. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to grab this here, make it a small tapioca, and grab this one here and make it a lychee jelly. And I'm going to go back, just double check. That's what that looks like. Yep, everything looks good. And honestly, this probably could go down a little bit in size. So let's detach it from a 12 point and let's make it, or from 14 point, let's just make it 12 point. And we don't need to set up a text style for this. You know how to do that by this point. All right, the next thing we want to do here is, if we go back and take a look at this mock, is add the total and the price here as well, and go add the add button into this layout. So let's grab the tap to select toppings text that we did, and let's just copy that. So again, I'm clicking, I'm holding Option, getting the double arrow here, and then I'm clicking and dragging and holding Shift. So let's say this is the total. Oop. I'm going to grab the gray here. What you could do here is just select before the $sign. Type in total so you still get the gray. And then go ahead and delete that $sign. And I'm going to delete this topping text. And I'm going to just type in, right now it's $4.99. So $4.99. And I'm going to make this one a white. And generally best practices here is your total should be kind of big, not too big. So let's go grab from our text system here and our character styles, maybe a 19 point. And I think we had a 19 point bold. Yeah, that looks good. Let's go do that. And I'm going to center this typography dialog box here, or the binding box, to just be exactly the same width as the artboard, so that way it's centered. Okay, cool. And then we made a button already, so let's go grab that primary action button. Let's place it on our artboard, and you can see here it's centered it for me, and I'm going to create an instance of it by typing the word add in it. And I can even make it smaller, and it still holds to the attribute of the component. So I can even make it less width if I wanted to, but this case we just want to do, or less height if I wanted to. But in this case, we just want to do a little bit less width. I think that looks good. All right, great. So let's go back, double check our prototype, make sure everything looks good. So when I tap on regular milk tea, you see that slides up. And when I tap on the X, it slides down. That feels like a really, like a real application that I'm using. This is nice. Okay, so the fun part here is we're going to create a mobile drop down at this point. So it will look something like, if we go back to the final prototype, like this one here. And again, if you ever get stuck, that's why this final prototype page is. you can just come in and pick this one apart. You can see how I'm doing things here while you're building out the learning page as well. So this is, again, just a safety net for you. You can go and look at different settings and how I'm doing things. And if you get yours isn't working as properly as what mine is, this is why this is here. Beware though, if I go to my prototype right now, it's showing me my learning page prototype here. Like it only goes up to this point. If you want to see the prototype for this final prototype, you have to delete the tab here at the top. Go to the final prototype page here, press the present or the play button, and it will load the new that prototype here, which is the one that I created for before this. So just heads up if you're looking at why you're not being able to see that prototype. All right, let's go back to our learning page here, and we're going to create an overlay transition. So at this point, let's go ahead and copy this screen here. And here's the kicker. I'm going to delete everything, including the status bar on this page. So it's just a blank with the black background artboard. And I'm going to change the naming layer here from selection screen to drop down selection. So again, you just click on the top of the prototype or the top of the artboard and then double click into the layer on the left, and that's how you can change the naming of an artboard. All right, so I'm going to make this one about a third of the size of the artboard that we have right now. So about that big. We can say 400 height here if we wanted to. And I'm going to change the background of the color here to white. We created a white color style. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to grab this text here, the tap on select toppings. I'm going to Command C, and then I'm going to Command V right here onto this board here. I'm going to remove the white text, and in this text I'm going to type in select sweetness level, just like so. Okay, now I'm going to go to the line tool here. You can see line, and if you click and drag with the line tool from one end of the artboard to the other, it makes a line here. And you can make different strokes, widths here if you want, but we just want 1 point, just a separator. And let's go ahead and make this that cool gray color that we had, and let's do it at 50% opacity. All right, that looks good. So let's go make 4 selections. So what I'm doing here is I clicked on the stroke. I'm holding Option. I'm going to click and drag and hold Shift. And well, about 65 should do. And now I'm going to do a Command D. So it's going to recopy that layout. And now I have 1 here, 2, 3, I have 4 selections here. At this point, I'm going to grab a guide and just show where the bottom of that selection is. And then I'm going to move this artboard up to the guide. And that looks good. Okay, so we have a couple ways to select the sweetness, a couple options for us. I'm going to go ahead and type up I think on here we had regular, semi, extra, and no sweet. So I'm going to grab the text tool here. I'm going to create a text box, and I'm going to type in regular, sweet, And we had some already set character text styles here. So let's go grab, I think the 22 point will work. Yeah, that looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and center this from width to width on the artboard. And let's change this to the pink color, or action pink. And then I'm just going to copy this. Make sure this looks visually centered on each piece. And we had regular suite, and I think there was semi-suite, extra suite, and no suite. So let's do semi-suite, and we had no suite here, and we had low suite here. And let's double check that. Oh, extra suite. Okay, cool. So regular suite, semi-suite, extra suite, and no suite. We've also had a you can see we had a, it's not here, but you can go to the final prototype here and grab this check mark. Just Command C, go back to the learning page here that we had, and let's go ahead and paste that. I'm going to click on the artboard, and let's go ahead and paste that right next to the regular suite. If you want to know where to get icons like this icon here, there's a really great tool out there called the Noun Project. So if you go to your internet and you type in thenounproject.com and you create an account, you can, for free, download all types of, I think they have thousands of icons that are done pretty well too. So let's say at this point I want a check mark. I just type in check mark. I press return, enter. Oops. Check mark. And I have tons of check marks that I can pull from. Let's say I like this one here. I click on it. It says get this icon. I do basic download, press continue, say SVG here. It downloads it. Then all I have to do is click this download, go to my Figma, and then just drag it into my Figma. And you'll see here from my downloads that it automatically copied the SVG, the scalable vector graphic, of that icon into my Figma board. So I can change the color of this, any color that I want. I can manipulate it. I can change the edges of it and round it out a little bit if I want to. And so this Noun Project is a great resource if you want any type of icon. So let's say ice cream if you wanted. You can just type ice cream, do a search, and there's thousands of ice cream icons you can grab. Well, maybe hundreds of ice cream icons that you can grab. Let's say you like that one. Same process. Get this ice cream icon, SVG. Go to Figma. I got a popsicle. There you go. Popsicle ice cream. Select it, paste it. And if you want to get into the shapes, you can see I have this shape selected by going to the layer palette on the left and selecting those different shapes there. So a really good resource to grab those types of things. Okay, cool. So we have our drop-down artboard screen created. Let's go ahead and prototype this. So what we want to do is we want to select the regular suite drop-down button from the selection screen artboard. Go to the prototype tab here and go ahead and drag that with the little GUI arm to the drop-down selection. Now here's where it gets unique, is we want to have the interaction here is on click. And we want to be able to do a navigate to on this drop down here, but click on it. and where it says navigate to, we want to actually have it say open overlay. And that has the open overlay. And what we want to do is click on close when clicking outside the overlay, and click on the add background behind overlay, and 25% opacity is fine. Here you have different sections on how to create overlays. You can do a centered overlay, you can do a left overlay, or you can do a bottom. And so in this case, we want to do the bottom centered. So again, I have this regular suite. I've clicked the GUI prototype arm to connect it to the drop-down selection artboard. I have it on click here for the transition. I have it open overlay, and I can see the different selections here. Close when clicking outside, add background behind overlay. So this was originally on click. It should be on tap. The reason why is when I was on the prototype tab here, I clicked off of the iPhone 11 into none. And so it just defaulted back to click. But yours should say on tap here, just like this. Okay, let's go check that out. Let's go to the prototype here. All right, so when you click or you tap on regular suite, you can see this. Yep. I had my prototype set on the wrong. iPhone 11 Pro is what we wanted. Let me go back one more time. Okay. So at this point, you're on the selection screen here. When I click on the regular suite, you'll see this regular suite appears. And when I click anywhere out, it disappears. So it comes up from the bottom, and when I click out, it goes away. So we want to add some transition here. We want this to slide up, and we also want it to slide down when you tap out of it. So now that we have it as an overlay, let's go click on our prototype again. And here where it says animation, where it says instant, let's have it move in. And the same thing, we want it to slide up. So press the up icon here. And so now watch. See how it slides up like that? And then it will go back down when I click off of it. So when you tap on the button here, close when clicking outside, that's what causes this to close when you click outside of it. So clicking here, move in, and it moves up, and then closes to click back down. I'm going to really quickly make another artboard to show you different ways that you could use this overlay. So let's say you wanted to have just a mobile come in the center of your artboard. So I'm going to move this X over here, and let's just say milk, or we'll keep it on regular T. Here's some different ways that you could see how to use this overlay feature. So I have the interaction on tap. I can see here open overlay. And this one we're going to have close when clicking outside, and also add the background again. And you can see I've selected where it says centered here. So this is going to open up a modal. And we don't want any transition here. We just want it instant. So let's go look at what that looks like now. So see how it opens up a modal? And if I click out of it, it closes it. So that's pretty common if you're doing any like dialogues or profiles, like any modals that you want to have. Another thing that you can do here is I can make this artboard the same width or the same height. So let's go ahead and say this is an 812 height artboard. All right, and I'm going to make this one about half the width, maybe 3/4 of the width. So about there. And let's just have some fun. Let's make the background pink and make this, I'm going to detach the instance from the symbol for the X, and I'm going to make it white. Something, oh, that, let me grab these shapes here. Okay. I'm going to make these shapes for the X white. And the same thing. Imagine, in most cases, this is when you usually have a hamburger menu here. So usually you'll have like 3 dots here. I'm going to select those. Make those black. And just for just to show you what this looks like, I'm going to click on the hamburger menu, and I'm going to still do the same thing. On tap, it's going to open an overlay. Close when clicking outside. Add the background overlay, but instead of doing center like we did with the modal, I'm going to do the top left here. And I'm also going to make a move in transition, and I'm going to make it come in from the right. So it's going to slide in from the right. All right, and you can see now how that acts like a modal or a menu. So let me put this X down a little bit, and you can see that again. So see how that acted like a menu and a hamburger menu? That's another way that you can prototype that. Okay, cool. I'm going to go back to our regular, where we had it before. I just wanted to show you different ways that you could use, the 3 different ways that you can use the overlay. All right, so at this point, you click on regular suite. Oh, let me make sure that's prototyped. All right. And I tap on regular sweetness. Let's see why that's not working. Okay. All right. And let me reload this prototype up. Okay, and I tap on regular suite. I'll see the suite, the selection menu come in. Click out of it, comes back down. Now let's go ahead and make it where if I click on the semi-suite, it will update this screen here, the selection screen, to have semi-suite. So what I'm going to do is click on the artboard here at the top, click and hold Option and Shift and drag, like we've been doing all along. Copy that artboard and just change this to semi-suite. I'm going to remove the prototype link from there. I'm going to keep the close one. That's still fine. And now I'm going to grab the semi-suite here, and I'm going to grab the GUI prototype link, connect it to the selection screen with the semi-suite update. And what I'm going to have it is on tap, and we're going to have this just do an instant, and it would just go away and show the semi-suite here. So regular suite and semi-suite, just like that. All right, that's pretty cool. Again, I can still close it if I wanted to. Press X, I can go back in, go regular suite, semi-suite. Now let's go ahead and make the transition where I tap on large tapioca and I select that as one of my toppings. All right, so at this point, I'm going to copy again. I'm clicking on the screen, holding Option and Shift. Copied that screen. And now I'm going to go back to my Design tab here. I selected this circle, and I'm going to fill it with the action color that we had before, just like that. Pretty simple. And now I'm going to select the tapioca and the circle. You'll see that if I tap on the prototype tab over here, I don't have the little GUI connector. It's because I haven't grouped these elements. You can only do one element. You can't do a selection of elements. So let's go ahead and select the circle and the tapioca, and let's group it. And then now you'll see this little GUI kit, the little GUI guy that I can connect over to the artboard that has the active selection for large tapioca. And let's go ahead and make this one a smart animate. And it would just do a quick transition of this. One thing we have to do here also is change the price from $4.99 to $5.49 because it's 50 cents per topping. All right, we're almost done here. Let's go ahead and look at that. So I tap on the large tapioca. And if I tap back on it, let's go ahead and make that as well. It goes back to the normal state. And again, we just want smart animation on tap. And you can see I can click off of it. I can click on it, tap on it, tap off. Feeling like a real application. We're almost there. Next thing we need to do is go ahead and add this to our cart. So what I'm going to do here is we have the shopping screen. I'm going to copy the shopping screen and again hold Option Shift, click and drag, copy that screen here. And I'm going to add a notification that you have one item in your shopping screen here, or shopping icon. So go to the shape tools, you can press R or you can press or 0 for the circle or ellipse. So I'm going to press 0. I'm in the ellipse tool. I'm going to click and drag and hold Shift. And you can see how I can't see the fill. So if I want to make this that action color pink, I can't see it. It's because we need this to have be a fixed element. So let's click on the fixed position when scrolling. And now let's also grab the ellipse from the layer on the left and move that up above the icons. You can put it at the very top. And we'll make it a little bit bigger. Say 18 by 18 is fine. Now I'm also going to grab the text tool by just pressing T on the keyboard. I'm going to click and drag. And I'm going to press 1, and I'm going to make the 1 not dark but white, and also fixed positioned. And I'm going to put this, using the layer section on the left, on top of the circle. So you can see like this, and put that inside the circle. Make sure you can fit 2. Looks like we'll be able to fit 2. Let's drop some letter spacing to like 3. So we got 0, 1, just in case somebody gets up to 10 or more items, it will still fit. All right, we're almost there. And last thing to do is to go ahead and stitch the add. Grab the little, click the add button, go to the prototype tab here at the top right, click and drag the little GUI, prototype GUI guy arm into the shopping screen here that we have. And in this case, we want to have it on tap here. We want it to move out and move down so it gets out of the way now. So again, go ahead and select from Instant or Smart Animate, wherever you are at, and select Move Out and select the down. And let's go look at that in the prototype. So if I press Add, now that goes down, and I can see the cart here. Cool. I'm going to click on the boba tea from this screen here, and I'm going to make it open up the screen that we had here to the left. So if I click here, it has the predefined selections I've already had, and I can press Add. Takes me back to this screen. All right, looks like we've covered some ground here. The next thing that we'll learn in the series of videos here is we'll start to work on the checkout workflow, and we'll wrap up there with the profile workflow on the video following that. And that will conclude most of the designing of the mobile application, and we'll go through just some tips and tricks and how to work with others using Figma, some keyboard shortcuts, Figma plugins, which are awesome, how to create comments, and some final thoughts. All right, well, thanks again, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.